right, stop the transcript, just record. Okay, so as mentioned, the idea of today kind of commissioned this time to run through some key messages, but also look at how we are going to communicate EDIs. So we'll start probably with the key messages. There's probably a number of things that we've been talking about across the weeks where we've sort of said the market have been saying this, or we've heard this, and it probably would make sense to just have a kind of a statement that we could all have that's consistent to play back to the market. And also there's probably some key messages that we want to positively put out there as well. So rather than just sort of being reactive statements. So for example, things about the build being on time. So, you know, that's a constant thing that we're asked about. Sometimes we hear some noise that perhaps Vanguard is a little bit behind, and so will that have a knock-on effect to delivery? So from the ACG meeting, so the Adoption Coordination Group meeting, the messaging there is absolutely that the build is on track. If there's some bumps in the road in Vanguard, it just means that they'll need to catch up. But the message should still be that the build is definitely on track for the go live on the 1st of July. So it's just that type of thing, which is a nice positive message, Zoe, that we can kind of think, right, yeah, that's one thing. If anyone asks, that's the party line. And until you provide us with something that says it's not, then we continue using that party line. And hopefully there's no reason for that to change. But then we started getting into some of the more detailed things around, you know, DA. So it starts getting a little bit more clouded on the DA side. So we've discussed that in the team meeting. So it's just maybe just having a statement that we can follow up on, which is that we now are at the point that it looks like DA will remain the same for phase 1 and phase 2 as it is today, with the addition of being able to upload Bordereau into Velanetics platform. We don't really know much more than that. You know, it's not going to be validated. It's not going to be used. We don't know how it's going to be used, but that's all we know at the moment. So that's all we can say. And the element around third-party access, which was mentioned on the 23rd, is that they're looking to build the functionality, but maybe start to introduce that under a proof of concept rather than that going live on, you know, start phase 1, 1st of July. So again, having a statement around that, so we're all saying something consistent. As that may change over the weeks, then we can update the key message to kind of say, well, you know, this is what uploading Bordereau to whatever platform it's actually being uploaded to means. And then, you know, what proof of concept around third-party access might look like. But for now, that's all we know with any certainty. So let's kind of, you know, put that one down. On training, we've obviously got questions starting to arise on that now. So again, having something that would kind of put us all in the same position for answering that is, for training, the approach is still being built out. So there's some training materials, for want of a better word, well, there's a training section on the Blueprint website that's been launched on the 1st of November. Sort of arguable if it's training materials, but it's more about the approach to training and etc. So again, we've created a training area on the Velanetic website, and that will be added to over time. The training plan is still being defined, and so we'll share that as it comes, because people are asking, are you going to train the trainer? Are you going to sheep dip every user? Are you going to have webinars? We don't know yet, so it's safer just to say that the training plan is being defined. So then we're also getting rumours around Training Plus, which is a chargeable element to supplement the basic training materials that are provided. Again, we don't know what that looks like and whether that's going to be what the market wants. If I was betting now, I think they would probably push back on being charged to be trained to use something that you're asking us to use and making us use by the 1st of July. So again, it's kind of just more, you know, yes, we're looking at the training plan and what that includes. If anyone mentions Training Plus, that hasn't actually been agreed as yet. And obviously, once a firm proposal is put in place, we of course will let you know. So that type of messaging along those lines. I don't know if anyone else has got anything on training, because otherwise I'll move on to the testing, which is exactly the same response. which is the testing plan has not been fully agreed. We do know that it will start on the 1st of April. We do know that it will be self-led by market firms. We do know that there will be test scripts available from the Vanguard group for those market firms to follow. And we do know that there will be some way to register queries and suspected defects to be followed up by Velinetic. So we know all of that. But again, we've got the rumor of Testing Plus, which is if you want any more help than that, you've got to pay for it. And we've got rumors of data provision being sort of chargeable as part of that Testing Plus at a price. You know, I've heard 50 grand for 5 risks. And again, this is all just rumor. I haven't heard that internally. I've heard that from the market. But again, we want to avoid getting sucked into that kind of conversation. So it's just having that consistent message that the testing, put down what we do know about testing, but also if people are asking about Testing Plus, nothing has been defined around that. They're obviously looking at the testing strategy and whether there is the option for paid for services. But until that's confirmed, I'd rather not, rather not get into the detail. We'll let you know as soon as it is. So something along those lines. So then we kind of get into more kind of spurious stuff like PRR, the Good Practice Guide. So Louise has been updating us that we think that's pretty much off the table, but we probably just want to close it down whilst we won't talk about it proactively. If somebody asked us what happens to the third element of the trilogy that you promised earlier in the year, being the Good Practice Guide, where is that? So that might require a little bit of investigation, Zoe, with Louise to kind of say, look, is this going ahead or isn't it? And if it's not, let's just close it down and say, actually, on balance, we think that the PRR report covers what's required, and we've done. But again, having a consistent message to say would be fantastic. The other topic that I had on the list was around EDI messaging. Now, as Marek has alluded to, he's been beavering away on his Sunday morning to frantically try and get us the information that we need to share back with the market. We've put together a bit of a timeline around that. So I don't know, Marek, if you're able to jump in as we go through it, based on what you're saying as to whether the timelines will still be right. But we just thought we should probably have a little bit of an approach to it. So jotting down, we know that we're going to have to send out emails to each of the market firms. So the plan was from today is to kind of maybe get the email templates set up, ready for the content to be dropped in later to speed things along. So Marek has got approved some email options. There's 3 options. Do you want to see what they are, Marek?
Yeah, sure. So we've got 3 communities of firms. We've got firms that receive supported EDI messages, firms that receive only unsupported EDI messages, and we have firms that receive a mixture of both, and any or all of them can receive standard messages, of course, which don't impact them in the same way. So we now have 3 email introductions, just as we had before. These are all signed off by Velinetic. So I'll send those out after this call. And for the engagement partners, I guess Mike on the call, that's kind of it really at the minute. Then potentially some others, if I can see on the call. Then you can start getting those email templates ready for each of the people that you would normally send those messages to. The format is very similar to last time, so it's an email introduction followed by the table. You get the table of messages from the same places you got the last table from, so that's exactly the same procedure. The table has now been updated to show supported and unsupported. Please don't send those messages out yet though, until we get the go-ahead from Velinetic. The reason for that is we've identified some customizations that may not be needed anymore, and therefore people don't need to worry about them if they're not supported. So we need to get that confirmation, and that is Alvaro's trying to get that confirmation as we speak. So I'm hoping that once we get that update and once Alvaro is happy with everything, then we should be able to get this out. It may be before Wednesday or certainly by Wednesday, which would be great. And that means we can get everything out before the end of the week, which certainly exceeds what we set as an expectation with Velenetic. Denny, you've got your hand up.
Yes, please. Those ones you say that are not needed anymore, is that because they're just old and have been superseded, or are they superseded in the new world?
They're superseded in the new world by virtue of the fact that the technology that they relate to won't exist anymore. So if I can give you an example of that, one of the customizations is just called Expand. And that customization, quite a few people have. It won't be supported anymore. And the reason it won't be supported is the Expand route customization uncompresses the message from the mainframe. Well, there isn't any mainframe. So therefore, and Alvaro hadn't spotted that. So even though it's not supported because the tech's not there. So no one has to worry about it, potentially. So I'm getting that.
That's a good spot, right?
Yeah, and there's about 2 or 3 others like that that are mainframe related. And so I'm asking, I've asked Julia to confirm whether those will still be needed or not. There's a couple that he seems to have missed off. So these are Accord for All ones that don't seem to be included, but I sort of raised a flag saying, you know, should these be? So really we need a bit more qualification, and then that will give us hopefully a happier community because fewer people will be impacted.
Sounds good, thank you.
There's no changes of a market firm as a result of those being dropped off because it's the Velenetic end that the change occurs at. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So pending those, we put a timeline down, and we're kind of saying, well, if Marek shares the content of the kind of 3 email options as engagement partners, we can set up our, you know, whatever it is, 15, 20 emails in advance. Just to that, because that takes a bit of time in itself, and we wanted to get this stuff out as soon as we can once it's available. We also wanted to advise the association leads of the approach that we're taking. So James, Rob, and probably Kim rather than Louise at the IUA. So when it does go out, we don't get maybe a firm that's upset perhaps that their specific EDI isn't taken forward if it's a managing agent running off to Rob, who Rob then runs off to James, Bob James, or to you know, someone else. So let's try and help manage that by saying, look, we will be monitoring the feedback. If there are any EDIs where the firm basically says the, you know, sort of cancellation of those going forward would disable my ability to work in the market, for example, we would take that feedback back to Velenetic. So we want to make sure that we're channeling it back in the right way. So if we advise the association of that, we should hopefully avoid that kind of problem popping up and putting out fires. So then, as you've created your email templates, Marek will, as I say, update the spreadsheet with the customization statement per market firm. And there was a section on the firm which was, what was the label that was used? There was like ones that are currently being used and those that were no longer being used. Inactive, I think was the title. So if they're inactive, I assume we won't be looking at those. We'll only be looking at the active ones, Marek. Is that correct?
That's correct. If it will only be customizations that are flagged as active that people will need to filter by, and I have added that to the report and set it there. So if people keep the settings that are there at the minute, then that should work for them. But again, please hold off. Do not send these until we've had the go ahead to do so.
Yeah. Thank you. So then when you get that confirmation, we're kind of hoping no later than by the team meeting on Thursday, Marek will be able to say that, yeah, we're all good to go. I'm sure if we're good to go before the 11th, you'll the 11 a.m. meeting, you'll let us know. That's where we're kind of looking at that's a line in the sand, because we know that obviously some people don't work Fridays. So if we can get that confirmed on Thursday morning that they're good to go, then that will get them out this week. So then at that point, you'll be able to populate your email templates, deleting the content that isn't relevant. So if it's one that has no customizations, they're unaffected, you can delete the other two. If they've got a combination, you can delete the other two. And if they've got those that they're just not being carried forward, you can delete that. So just amend the content of the text. Then we've obviously gone into a bit of a period of monitoring. Now, we're not likely to get market firms saying, oh, wow, I love this. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. But you never know. They're more likely to express their dissatisfaction, putting it politely, where perhaps an EDI that they've been using is no longer being supported, and they'll then have to make sure they've got some technology changes to revert back to the standard EDI messages. So again, if we can monitor that feedback over the coming weeks, if there's anything urgent, then obviously raise it with Marek as soon as it comes in. There's no point waiting for a week because they'll be sitting there stewing for a week. So just raise those with Marek as they come in, and Marek can then follow up with Matt and Alvaro on that situation. So then the following week, we can kind of run through the feedback that we've had and just generally get a sense, again, help Zoe understand if there's any messaging that we need around that based on the feedback that we've had. And there was some discussion at the ACT about publishing, our approach to EDIs. We kind of firmly said that this needs to be managed on a firm by firm basis. There's, once we've done it, we can maybe in a follow-up newsletter say that customizations have been confirmed back to the market and just leave it very high level. There's no point going into detail about what's been, you might say we've managed to incorporate 39 customizations where we weren't anticipating supporting any. So there's more of a, that should be more of a positive statement rather than but if you start going into what's in and what's out, it doesn't mean anything to anyone except for those that are impacted directly by direct messages. Mike.
Yeah, from a broker point of view, Marek, of course, we're still not convinced we've got the full list. I mean, last time I think we sent out to the 80 brokers these EDI messages. First time round, of course, we've got over, around 300 brokers, supposedly. Do we need to have a conversation, of course, sitting down and trying to work out, what we do with the ones we identified? That's fine. So we're going to have to do 78 emails again this time round. But the ones that we haven't managed to find or reach out to, do we need to have a separate conversation offline about those?
Yeah, I think we need to find out from them how they get their EDI messages, quite honestly, because they must know. And if they're not registered to receive them or send them, then I don't know. Is the honest answer.
I think the point is, one, we can't identify all the brokers at the moment. We're trying to work on that. As I said, that could be going up to 300. So again, I think the broking piece, maybe myself, Neil, and that can sit down with you and maybe try and get our heads around it. We've got a meeting with Peter actually tomorrow about identifying, the whole broker community over the top 50. But again, just something to flag out that I think we need to sort of I think it said last time we touched 80 brokers we sent the EDIs to, but obviously concerns are about the next steps and trying to find the remaining ones. So again, I don't know if we can get Vonetic involved in that, because as I said, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are dealing with their EDI messages on a day-to-day basis. So just a conversation maybe we can have offline. Yeah, exactly.
And then also there's Libra if they can help as well. So
we spoke to Libra as well, and these issues we're having. Libra come back and says they don't even know a full list of their own members. So we're having a few issues around that as well, should we say?
Okay. So, conscious of time, and I want to make sure. So then obviously if you can channel your feedback to Emma, if that's okay, Emma, to create a summary. So by firm, in terms of, they are upset about A, B, and C, or if we do get any, we're delighted that you are now supporting. That would be helpful as well. And that's to manage expectations up through Vonetic. They were asking for a daily update on the response to the EDI messaging, as it's not really going to work like that. we're going to email it out, and it's probably those that have got a problem that will flag. Those that are okay will just, move on, and it might not be until the next meeting that we actually have a proper conversation about it. So, but if you're all right to do that, Emma.
Yeah, of course I am. And I was about to say, unless you ask for a daily update on EDIs. That's hilarious.
I know. I don't know what they thought was going to happen, but
No,
yeah.
no.
But anyway, we've tried to manage expectations.
And sorry, does that include, Alan, will that include, in the meeting, Alvaro said he needed people to come back to him as soon as possible if they thought there was another one that should be supported. Is the email including that, presumably?
So if we send out confirmation and the firm comes back and says, what about, but you haven't said about this one, that would come under any urgent issues.
That's in there. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool,
great.
Thanks.
And again, that needs to be flagged with Marek directly. Obviously shared with Emma as background, but those will need picking up. So we're not going to sit on those. So go straight to Marek with those. And then we'll obviously share a summary of key issues with Velenetic towards the following week. So does that all make sense? Any questions? No. And what about any other topics for key messages for Zoe? Have we covered them all, or are there any other areas that you're thinking, I wish I had a statement
can
on
I just
that?
confirm something as well? Although we're doing key messages as well, I presume we're continuing to do the monthly updates to the communities as well, which we've been doing, which are very effective in the for us. Yeah. Will that be the same sort of thing though? Because obviously sort of adding some of those comments into that monthly update, or
so we're going to continue with those,
okay.
Which is like I think we did one just towards the end of
October, yeah.
So we'll be looking at this on Emma's picking up and coordinating that with the team. So again, it's best to do it when there's topics to share. So when there's a number of things that happened, so we can summarize what's happened rather than just sending it on the 5th of every month, because that's the 5th of the month. So I think we'll be able to go out with the EDIs. There'll be the 6th Q&A. Hopefully there'll be a summary of questions. So go on, Emma.
I've got well, the topics I've got so far for your monthly update was in no particular order. We have the Velenetic training, we have the user journeys, we have the Q&A sessions, hopefully with the videos, because we can hopefully have those back by then. We've got the LMA playbook, that was one that Wendy would like shared. The Velenetic processing dates, which again, I've got a question mark around them. The survey, because the survey should be finished, not saying the analysis will be done, and then we can add in anything else as well. So currently I've got 6 topics ready for drafting. So if there's anything else on there, please just flick me a note and I'll get them added. All right.
Perfect. Thanks, Em. So yes, Denny, we covered off DA at the start. I don't know if there's any other topics that anyone thinks that we need a key message on. It looks like not. So we'll ask the rest of the team as well. But hopefully we can kind of use the team meeting. So as you join that, is kind of look out as things progress, so you can update those key messages as well. And I think the weekly update will help, because we tend to capture things that have stepped forward. But obviously, if you ever want to chat about any more of the detail behind it, any of the team will be able to help you. If it's down to messaging, it's normally Marek. If it's down to brokers, and obviously Mike or Neil, and then we've got the other EPs from the carrier perspective, and of course myself generally across, and Gareth from a probably survey perspective and meetings perspective. But yes, we are all here to help you with this, because we'll all benefit from it as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Okay, we're at time. In fact, just 1 minute over, so I'll let you escape. But thank you for that. Yeah, Zoe, just shout if you need any more help.
Will do. Thank you.
Cheers now.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Bye. Bye.